welcome back to my little gardening show. I wanted to give you an update on our seedlings, how things are going. I'm getting ready to feed them tonight. I'm not using the Mint Lighter constant feed for this application. Instead, I've got some, it's basically a hydroponic solution that I picked up from a grow shop actually last year. It's organic, so it shouldn't burn the foliage. The issue I was having with the Mint Lighter stuff is that even though it was diluted, I could run it over there. If I didn't follow that up, and wash that off the leaves, with a sprayer or something like that, it could bend or burn the tips of the plants. And actually, two of the plants, it kind of stunted where I must have had some concentrated salts or something, and it kind of burned the plants. So to play it safe, I'm going the organic route. I'm having to do this because I'm growing in a soilless, basically a grow mix. It's got phloem moss, peat moss, some wood chunks and stuff like that. It doesn't have a lot of really any nutrient content, and so I've got to supplement and give them that until I get them in the ground, right? Which will be in a couple weeks, probably another month. The other thing we're going to be doing, the cups haven't arrived yet, but I went ahead and bit the bullet. I got these pretty nice. Their containers kind of like this, but they're 5 inches deep. If you're going to take the time, invest and spend the time and the energy to start these plants like this, I want to make sure you get a really good start. So what I'll plan on doing is transplanting them in their own little cups so that they can really focus. And then I can set them up to bottom water and really get going. Now with that, I think I can get about 18 per tray, so we'll see how that all plays out. But I want to make sure that these have got a pretty good root ball, so that when we get them out to the garden, they'll have a lot better chance of surviving as opposed to getting them in there and not have that root ball to draw nutrients, because it's going to be quite an adjustment planting them out in the garden, and where they're having to deal with all the elements and stuff that they would normally do if I started them by seed and just let them kind of grow up. But the whole purpose of getting these starts going like this is to get a jump start on the season, so that when I get them in the ground, they're already 6 weeks ahead of the game, and we can get something harvested sooner. So I want to take you along tonight as I've already watered one of the trays, show you the other two, and we'll get going on that. Alright, so first things first, I got my mix here, gallon and a half of water. Since these are growing pretty good, I put a tablespoon of this stuff. Again, it's an organic grow mix. It's got bat guano and all kinds of good stuff. Supposed to be good for the plants. So get that mixed in there. It doesn't really smell, which is a good thing. Some of this stuff, like if you get fish emulsion, it just really stinks. I mean, it's good for the plants, but it really stinks. So this is more or less odorless. Doesn't smell bad at all, really. What we're going to do is we're going to take our bucket and we're going to apply 16 ounces to this by just running the cup over. I've got some holes, I think 1/8 inch holes drilled in the bottom of this cup. It might be a little smaller than that, but now what's nice about the little solo cup here is I can get this saturated pretty good. Initially, when these were just starting out, I didn't fill the cup all the way, so that way there's less pressure, downward pressure as stuff's draining, and wouldn't overwhelm the plant. So I'm going to go ahead and put 2 cups of that on there. Again, this mix isn't going to burn the plants, so it's okay if there's some that are left on the, at least from what I understand, things are left on the leaves, the foliage. Now you can overwater your trays, where it's so saturated that you deprive the plants of oxygen, and then they're really going to struggle. At the same time, they can get too dry, and you know that because they start to wilt, because they're trying to conserve moisture. They don't want to die. So if they're wilting, they're not growing. None of these are really wilting, but at the same time, it's dry enough that we can go ahead and water. In this case, add some nutrients, which I haven't done for about a week. All right. So there you have it. It's pretty simple. Again, I don't really have a whole lot going in the grow room right now, just because of the way the weather is, what it's been, and kind of the way my experience has been with the way the grow room is. You know, like right now it's 60 degrees, so it's pretty nice in here. When it's colder than that, even with the heat mat, it's hard to really get things going. And I found that really, if I wait a couple more weeks, generally the plant starts that I would start, after this first batch into, later in the season, are going to catch up to these for the most part, because conditions are just going to be a lot more suited for things to grow. It's going to be warmer. Not going to be fighting the elements. Again, if I had some protection, row covers, or like a caterpillar tunnel, or various ways that people grow outdoors in the early springtime, I would do that. Even with my little greenhouse out there, I'm not using it right now. Well, one, because my sister, who's with Dad right now, has got the gardening bug now, and she's wanting to get into flower gardening. So basically, she's using all the available space in my greenhouse, at least I think she is, to sprout all her flowers and stuff like that, since I've got this space here to get stuff going. Now, later in the spring, once I get the tomatoes and the peppers going, which will be probably in the next 2 weeks, I'll be starting those. Maybe sooner than that, probably within the next week. Once those are sprouted and really going, I will want to get those out to the greenhouse and expose the elements, and we'll set up a little grow table and everything to get stuff going. But anyway, with that being said, again, I don't have a whole lot going because it just didn't really make sense to get a whole lot going right now. I do have onion sets that are coming in the mail, I think in 2 weeks, from Dixondale Farms. Hopefully the weather will be conducive to that, where we can start prepping the ground and getting some beds laid out and ready to go to get those planted. I know last year I had ordered them when I thought we'd be out and about, but it was so rainy and wet and cold that we had to wait a couple weeks. And overall, we still got pretty decent onion harvest, but it did affect them a little bit. So anyway, I guess that's it for now. Until next time, happy gardening.